Welcome to the EACC Math Lesson number 15, Solving Inequalities. Inequalities are mathematical expressions or algebraic expressions that use these four symbols: greater than or equal to, less than, and less than or equal to. When we graph an inequality, which we'll be doing today, we graph an area on a number line. So for example, this says x is greater than or equal to -5, so we want everything that's bigger than or equal to -5, so we close in the dot there at -5. Over here, they're depicting a basic solution of an inequality. Notice they use the good old distributive property first. Simplified, it was a -6, so we add 6 to each side. And then here's where the difference is. It's just like solving an equation, but right here, notice what happened. Here they had to divide each side by a -2. And when they did that, look what happened to the inequality. It flipped or switched. We've got to remember to do that. That's the key and difference between solving inequalities and solving equations. Okay, so here's our first inequality to solve. 2x minus 6 greater than or equal to 12. So, just like solving equations, we do the opposite. So we're going to add 6 to each side. So we have 2x is greater than or equal to 18. And then we divide each side by 2. So we end up with x is greater than or equal to 9. Notice I didn't switch the inequality because we did not divide by a negative number. We divided by a positive 2 on both sides. Alright, so I want all the values that are greater than or equal to 9. So let's say this is 8 here, so here's 9, 10, 11, and so on. Greater than or equal to means we put a closed circle at 9, and we want to shade in everything to the right, everything greater than or equal to 9. Alright, here's our second one. A little bbit more complicated, but again, it's just like solving an equation. We're going to distribute the 3 first. So we have 3 minus 6n is greater than 15. Subtracting 3 from each side, we get negative 6n is greater than 12. Finally, divide both sides by -6. We get n. And now, since we're dividing by a negative number, we flip the inequality, and 12 divided by -6 is -2. So when we graph this, we want everything less than -2. So let's say this is 0 here, this is 1, or -1, excuse me, and -2, -3, and so on. So less than -2 means we put an open circle at -2, and we want to shade in everything to the left, less than -2. All right, this next one is called a compound inequality. We've got actually two inequalities combined here. So here's what I want you to think. There's several ways to do it. You could split it up into two inequalities, but I'm just going to draw an imaginary line here and one here. And what we have 3 sections, and you're starting in the middle because you're solving for the variable. And so whatever you do to the middle section, you do the same thing to both the left and the right. For example, here I want to get rid of the positive 3, so I'm going to subtract 3. So I'll subtract 3 over here, and I'll subtract 3 here. -5 take away 3 is -8. Inequality stays the same. -2y left in the middle. Less than or equal to, and 7 take away 3 is 4. Next, we need to divide everything by -2. So I have -8 divided by -2, that's positive 4. Now, since I divided by a negative, I've got to flip that inequality, and this becomes y, flipping the inequality, which I didn't do here, so let's erase that. Greater than, the equal to stays with it, -2. So this is kind of written in reverse order, but what it's saying is we want all the values of y that are smaller than 4 and bigger than -2. So let's say this is -2 on our number line. -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 would be about here. So we want everything smaller than 4, not including 4, so we put an open circle. And we want everything bigger than or equal to -2, so we put a closed circle, and we shade in everything in between. These are the numbers that are smaller than 4 and bigger than or equal to -2. All right, so here's your key point to remember. If you see a picture of what you wore today in 20 years, you'll think you look stupid. Believe me, I know that's true. But now, that's not what I want you to actually remember. I want you to remember this right here. The key thing is switching the inequality symbol. If you divide or multiply each side of the inequality by a negative number, flip that inequality. In other words, if I have -2x is greater than 10, I have to divide both sides by -2, so x is less than -5. Okay. Flip the inequality. Please try to remember to do that. Okay, well, this brings us to the end, and you've got some problems to do in front of you there, and so I will see you next time. Take care.